Kelly, and this is the Kelly File. Breaking tonight, the White House appears to be in full panic mode as challenges are now firing in from several news organizations about the president's repeated, explicit, and perfectly clear promises about his health care law, which did not turn out to be true. Promise. If you like your plan, if you like your doctor, you can keep them. We heard it over and over and over again. Fact. Over 10, perhaps as many as 15, perhaps more million people will lose their plans and perhaps their doctors. And this administration knew it at the very time the president promised us otherwise. Tonight, we investigate how the president's signature legislative achievement has come to shock and distress millions of Americans tonight instead of helping them. We'll show you exactly why millions of Americans are being kicked off of their insurance plans at this moment. And what happens if they cannot get insurance before their current plans expire? Are these people going to be left uncovered? Wouldn't that be ironic? We'll investigate why the administration is now putting all the blame on the insurance companies. Should it have foreseen that they would act in this manner? Did it lay the groundwork that essentially forced them to act in this manner? And why are they downplaying the numbers now of those being kicked off their plans? It's only 5%. Only 5% getting kicked off. Plus, Medicaid rolls are exploding. They're exploding. That's where all the people are signing up, on the Medicaid rolls right now, while the number of paying customers who are supposed to fund this whole thing, nothing. Expected to be very low. They won't tell us exactly. What does that mean for taxpayers? Who's going to wind up picking up the slack? You? But first, the story we brought you last night. Fox News confirming that the administration knew. They knew back in 2010 that millions of Americans would lose their health care plans, even though the president had repeatedly promised the opposite was true. And you may remember he didn't just say that repeatedly when they were debating the health care bill. He went there again after it became law as recently as 2012.
Let me tell you exactly what Obamacare did. Number one, if you've got health insurance, it doesn't mean a government takeover. You keep your own insurance. You keep your own doctor.
You don't if you're on the individual insurance market, and that's about, well, 15 million people, potentially. Many of them will not keep it. Ed Henry is our chief White House correspondent. What a day at the White House today, Ed.
That's right, Megyn. Second straight day, Jay Carney was pressed on whether the president misled the country. They began an aggressive pushback today because they know they're under siege on this issue right now. Number one, they say, look, this is only 5% of the population in terms of people who buy their own insurance and are getting cancellation letters right now. But as you noted, 5% equals about 14 million people potentially that could get these letters. That is a huge chunk of the market, even though it's just 5%. Secondly, they said what the president meant was, not what he said, but what he meant was when you could keep your own plan, was that if you had your own plan before March of 2010, when he signed the bill into law, you're grandfathered in and you wouldn't be affected. In the 3 years after that, you're essentially on your own potentially. And the problem is they're adding all this context, all these qualifiers, all those kinds of things that the president did not mention 3 years ago when he sold it. Here's Jay Carney today.
Do the president's words matter when he sells a big thing like that?
Well, Ed, again, all I ask of Fox and everybody else is that to provide the context.
But he didn't provide that context back then.
There has been essentially 5 years of debate about this.
Forward to last night when Valerie Jarrett basically sent out a tweet and said, in her words, nothing in Obamacare forces these people off their plans. Liberal columnist Jonathan Chait today in New York Magazine said that's just simply not true, that it's the law that's being implemented that is forcing the insurance companies to make these decisions. That's why on defense tomorrow will be Kathleen Sebelius finally testifying on the Hill.
Well, we could always just take the White House at its word. Ed, thank you.
Good to see you.
Listen, I'm